As some of you have said, this weekend is about belonging, what it means to belong. And the American sociologist Brené Brown has done a lot of work on what true belonging means. She has written, "Love and belonging are essential to the human experience." As I did interviews in her research as a sociologist in Texas, I realized that only one thing separated the people who felt a deep sense of love and belonging from the people who seemed to be struggling for it. That one thing is the belief in their worthiness. It's as simple and as complicated as this. If we want to fully experience love and belonging, we must believe that we are worthy of love and belonging. And that can be a really tall order in today's society. We live in a culture that is happy to tell us all the things that are wrong with us. You will be worthy of love and belonging when you have lost 20 pounds. You will be worthy of love and belonging when you have gotten a promotion at work and you make a lot more money. You will be worthy of love and belonging when your marriage is perfect and your children are perfect. These are all lies. You are worthy of love and belonging right now, just as you are. The principles speak about the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and we talk a lot about what does it mean for me to respect the inherent worth and dignity of others. But that principle reminds us that we ourselves have worth, are worthy. So part of our work as religious people is to affirm to ourselves that we are worthy of love and belonging, that we are capable of coming and being a part of the community with the acts of vulnerability and trust that it requires. Brené Brown says this worthiness is at the heart of what she calls wholeheartedness. People who are able to open themselves to make connections with others. She notes belonging is different than fitting in. Fitting in is like that list of things you might have to do to belong, right? Fitting in is the hustle. I'm going to wear the right stuff. I'm going to do the right things. And then I will be accepted. She wrote, "For years, I thought it was the other way around. I'll do whatever it takes to fit in, to be accepted, and that will make me like myself better." The radical truth is, we begin by liking ourselves for who we are. And this allows us to begin to belong. Now, Brené Brown has written a lot of books, and she's talked some too about what it means to belong in our relationships with each other and to build community. So Kevin is going to share some of her practices with us.
When I think about entering into a new place and belonging to it, truly becoming a part of a place, it requires no small amount of trust. Charles Feldman, in the Thin Book of Trust, defines it this way: trust is choosing to make something important to you vulnerable to the actions of someone else. And that's the scary part of trust. That it requires vulnerability in order to exist. You need to risk something in order for it to matter. And distrust, according to Feldman, is when what I've shared with you that is important to me is not safe with you. A religious community is a place that should be based in trusting relationships, if nothing else. Because I believe that is what religion, in its purest form, is all about. Creating places for us to practice relationships built on trust and calling us toward higher ideals. If we can get better at being in relationship here with people we choose over and over again to be in relationship with, we might become better at being in relationships with those how do we go about building these rare relationships that are trusting? Brene Brown builds on Feldman and says that when we trust, we are craving connection with someone. And she has explored the ingredients of this trusting connection with others through the acronym RAVING, which is made up of boundaries, reliability, accountability, vault, integrity, non-judgment, and last, but certainly not least, generosity. 7 ingredients, which is a number we like in religious settings. There are 7 virtues, 7 deadly sins, and we use our 7 principles. So it begins with boundaries, which is interesting if we are trying to create something that requires us to be vulnerable. But boundaries are still necessary. It is important to know what we're willing and able to offer in any relationship. And this means you need to reflect on yourself first. What do you need in order to be a good participant in the relationship? What promises can you keep? The next 2 are reliability and accountability, 2 interrelated aspects of trusting relationships. To be reliable means you will do what you say you'll do over and over again. It builds up that credit in the relationship that when you say something, you mean it and will deliver. And then there is accountability, which is that when you mess up, as we so often do, when you fail to follow through, you admit it and apologize for it. And you allow other people you're in a relationship with to make mistakes, apologize, and make amends too. You need reliability in between the mistakes to build a relationship strong enough to hold the mistakes and to make space for the apologies. The middle aspect, like the keystone of an arch, is vault, or the ability to keep confidences when others trust you with them, which is usually what happens when you've laid the foundation for a trusting relationship. You've made your personal boundaries clear, you've proven yourself to be reliable, and you've demonstrated accountability when you have made mistakes. Then, and only then, you have the pieces in place to be given the gift of someone trusting you enough to keep confidence, to be a vault for them, a safe place to keep something they need to share with you. Being able to keep a confidence leads us to the 5th aspect, integrity, which Brown defines as choosing courage over comfort, choosing courage over what's fun, fast, or easy, and practicing your values, not just professing your values. The second to last aspect is non-judgment, which I think of as humility. We make an environment where it is okay to ask for help, to not be judged for imperfection. We understand that none of this is easy to do, but want to try together anyway. And finally, we come to generosity, which means that we assume good intentions of those we are in a relationship with. When we are wondering about something the other person has done, we ask them first, rather than jumping to conclusions, and we expect that others will do so for us in return. So there are the 7 aspects of trusting relationships: boundaries, reliability, accountability, vault, integrity, non-judgment, and generosity. Braving to live into relationships that hold all of this is not easy and not fast. It is made both easier and harder with others. Or maybe another way to think of it is that it is only necessary and only possible when in community with other people.
Now, in addition to belonging to ourselves and belonging to a congregation, we belong to a faith. So if you travel and you visit other UU congregations, you have had the experience of walking into an unfamiliar space with unfamiliar people, but having something in common with them. About 5 years ago, I was in Colorado visiting my parents, and I said, I'm going to go to church, right? Because there's a UU church there in Grand Junction. Because I like to go to church. You probably know this about me. So I drive over to this unfamiliar building, and I'm sitting in the car in the parking lot, and I'm starting to feel nervous. I feel my heart beating faster. I don't know this building, I don't know these people, I don't know. And I said out loud to myself, Monica, you have nothing to be scared of. These are your people. And I went into the building, and indeed, they were my people. Some things were familiar and some things were different. But we recognized something in each other. That shared identity was a bridge. And it took an act of vulnerability to walk in. To say, okay, here I am, I believe these are my people. Let's see if it's true.
So growing up in rural Minnesota, I came out to myself twice in my early teens. I came out to myself as gay, and I came out to myself as an atheist, both during my confirmation class in a Lutheran church. A conservative Lutheran church, to be clear. What I learned during that class, unfortunately, was that that congregation in particular, I could not belong to and hold these other two identities at the same time. Unfortunately, as well, I extrapolated this to mean I couldn't be a religious person anymore and left organized religion for almost a decade. As a young adult just graduating from undergraduate, I found myself applying to work at a church, First Universalist Church in Minneapolis, and wondering if I should really be there. Well, the first barrier fell when my person that interviewed me was the senior minister, a lesbian woman. So instantly, just by her very identity and her very presence as the minister of that congregation, I knew at least that part of me was safe there, that I could work there with integrity and feeling a sense of personal safety in my daily life that I hadn't experienced in other places that call themselves churches. The second barrier fell when I walked into First Unitarian Society in Minneapolis, less than 2 miles away, on a Sunday morning, and the senior minister there was preaching about religious humanism, that one could be in religious community without God, without the supernatural, that being together religiously still mattered. So between this Universalist church and this Unitarian church, just 2 miles away from our Unitarian ancestors and our Universalist ancestors, both the ministers and both those congregations welcomed who I was, wholly as holy. They were the ones that helped me discover that I could be both religious and gay and an atheist, and all of the other pieces of me that make up my constellation of identities were okay there. And not just okay, but beloved, safe, welcome.
Now, this is true not only in this country, but across our global faith. Some of you know that I have done work with the International Council of Unitarians and Universalists. I have attended international meetings, and I want to tell you that the next meeting is going to be in Montreal. So it will be possible, perhaps, for some of you to join me at that one. And an interesting thing happens at these meetings. As you are having conversations, knowing that you come from different cultures, that you have different assumptions about the world, that different things are possible in different places. That our Indonesian cousins, for example, are radical Christians, and that's about as far as they can push the envelope in that country. Or that our cousins in Burundi are a deeply humanist congregation in a country where that is a very dangerous thing to be. They have been persecuted by the government for their theological identity and for their insistence on doing social justice work in their community. And as you talk to people from these very different contexts, you recognize what it is in each of us that belongs in this faith. The willingness to seek for answers and for wisdom, and to simply hold some of the questions as unanswerable. And the insistence that we must be a force for love and justice in the world. And the delight in the diversity that we find among each other. In one congregation and as a global faith, we are different from each other, and that is our strength and our joy in so many ways. This is part of how we belong together in the religious homes we create.
From Starhawk, we are all longing to go home to some place we have never been. A place half remembered, half envisioned. We can only catch glimpses of from time to time. Community. Somewhere there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us, eyes will light up when we enter, voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength, strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter. A circle of healing. A circle of friends. Someplace we